First off, my mother is a huge fan of Jim Caviezel. She saw the movie, she loved it. She wanted to pay it forward with two tickets on
Mhm.
angel.com. How great is it to know that you have so much support from people? I really enjoyed it. Then my mom just saw it, said, I want to pay it forward. Can you
Oh,
just talk about that dynamic as far as this theatrical release and how great is it to know that you have all that support behind you from cinephiles?
well, it's beyond great, especially for me as a filmmaker. I've it's been a difficult career for me always when it comes to distribution. My films have always kind of not gotten the attention that the film needs in order to be successful. So I owe a lot of the success to this film to the distributor because they believed in the film in itself and they put everything they had in it, and you can see it, you can appreciate by the way that they have promoted this film and by the box office. So I've never been in this situation before in my career where I can see working with a distributor that truly believes in my film, and it's not just one more movie and they pull it out and it's a machine and then boom, the movie gets forgotten. So it's just very, very grateful, very grateful. And like this whole thing, they think outside the box. All this thing about paying it forward and all that. It's just because at the end, the audiences are billboards. We don't have the budget to have big billboards. And it's funny because I went to 3 or 4 different screenings here as an incognito, just to see the audience's reactions. And I would look around and there was like all these massive posters, everything. There was not a single poster of Sound of Freedom. So I say, well, you know what? The audience are our posters. The audience is our billboards, and they are the ones that are going to create a word of mouth. And that is working. It's we don't have hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing, but we have the audience, and they have the now it's they come out and they start spreading the word, and that to me it's what is really coming true right now, and that's what it has kept us right now. It's we just started, but if we continue like this, we're gonna stay in theaters, and we're gonna be able to make more movies like this.
Alejandro, what's the key to actually persevering through 4 to 5 years? You're talking about distribution. You make a movie and it's an epic film like this. It's cinematic in scope, but you have to wait 4 to 5 years for it to be released in theaters. And some people might the way today's climate is, being released in theaters is a lucky thing. But you had to go through that storm. What does it take to
Yeah,
weather that storm and not give up as a filmmaker?
I mean, it was an emotional roller coaster. It's some days you feel strong and you're like, we're gonna find the right partners, and another days, it's like, oh, maybe this movie is never gonna see the light of the day. It was like ups and downs. But looking into retrospective, now I can see that there was like a divine orchestration, because it's perfect time right now. It's like it totally makes sense that the movie was kind of like hold back, because I feel like right now the audiences are ready to digest a theme like this. And I think it was a perfect time. And we just had to endure that part. And maybe it was a test. And here we are. So we're just excited and surpass all of our expectations.
You talked about perfect time. What about a perfect cast? Of course, you have Jim Caviezel, but to have someone like Bill Camp as his right hand man throughout I mean, obviously you have a million things to do on the day, but just big picture, how great was it to have these as pretty much your leads throughout the film? And they have so much magnetism, and you really believe in them as human beings. So
Yeah. No, I mean, it was an honor, to be working with these two incredible, talented actors. I'm a big fan of Bill Camp, and I love his work on this film. Obviously, I'm gonna say this because I'm the director, but for me, this is Bill Camp's best work. He does amazing in all of them. So out of all the best he's done, this is to me a notch up. He was incredible in this film, incredible. And obviously, Jim is one of my favorite actors. So to be able to work with one of my favorite actors was incredible, and he truly understood this theme deeply. This is a very personal theme for him. He himself has already rescued 3 kids. He adopted 3 of his own children. So this was very close to him, and his conviction for this role and for this character, for this story, was very present.
And also just getting to know Ballard over the years, has it been just, everyone talks about movies, how they can be a value-added experience, not just for the moviegoers, but personally for you as a filmmaker. You're telling the story, you're writing about it. But what has it been like just journeying throughout this process with him as well, based on, the true story part of it and getting to know him?
Well, it's been a roller coaster just because, it's, Tim is fighting a battle against darkness, and so it's not an easy, battle. It's not boxing, it's he's going into the darkest of the darkest corners of the world. So, it was challenging because I didn't want to go too deep into this darkness. It was too much for me to even digest. So I wanted to pretty much just to kind of propose, this is what's happening, without going too deep in it. So because at the end, you come to the movies to also be entertained. So that was kind of it's like, how do you balance that out? How can I make a film that is entertaining and that it wraps you in the power of cinema and to have a cinematic experience, but in a way, exploring this darkness? And one of the things that I knew I had to do in this film is to make the lighting a narrator. So the lighting in the film is always piercing the darkness. So it's very stylized, but in purpose, because I wanted to remind the audience that they were watching a movie. I didn't want them to go into the realistic. It's already the subject. In order to digest it, you kind of have to, in a way, take a little bit of a distance in order to kind of get in, to dive deep into this story through the vehicle of cinema. So I knew lighting was going to be a character, like a narrator in the film, and that really paid off. Because, I see a lot of audiences that they come out and they say, it was a beautiful film, but at the same time, it explore a very dark subject matter. So, but they were able to digest it. But even though it's a dark subject matter, the vehicle it's the lens is hope. So you leave the theater with a profound hope of that. Yes, we can do something about this, and creating awareness. It's, to me, the first step. I didn't know about this. I had no idea this was happening. I saw, the interesting part, people say, well, this might be a conspiracy theory or this and that. And, well, I want to tell you how I got involved. I saw, it's funny, I saw a news report, and I don't know if it was 2020, Barbara Walters, 60 Minutes. It's one of those, because I love those shows. So I used to record them all the time. Before iPads and Netflix, that's what I was watching, my VTR. I don't know if you remember VTR. You record the live
of course.
TV.
Yeah.
And I came home, and it was like 11:30 at night, and I was going through the things, and I saw a 15-minute piece on child trafficking. This is 7-8 years ago, and it shook my soul. I said, I had to do something about this. And I started writing a fictional story based on that news report. And it was not until months later that I get a phone call and they introduced me to Tim Ballard. And when I met Tim Ballard, I realized that his life was better than the fiction I was writing. And that's how when we partnered up, and I decided to shift gears and start writing a film based on a real character. But I was already writing a movie on child trafficking that was going to be pure fiction based on true facts. That's what I was going to do. So it is happening. It is happening. And people always want to ask me, well, what the numbers are. I'm like, look, I'm a filmmaker. I don't know the numbers, but you can Google it, and the numbers are just here in the US. Like yesterday, I was in a live interview, and we Google it live. And it was very interesting. The first one is 800,000 children go missing in the United States, 800,000. And then at the bottom, it was the FBI numbers, which is 470 something thousand. So I know there's a massive difference between the first one and the second one, but if the FBI is reporting over 400,000, even if that's the real number, it doesn't make a difference. You're still in the hundreds of thousands in the United States. So now think about what's happening. If this is one of the most safest countries in the world, imagine what's happening in third world countries, Yeah.
This is just a cinematic question regarding this. You're talking about the social issues, very important. but I could be wrong about this. When you were a child and you were watching cinema, were you ever inspired by, like neorealism or Pontecorvo with a Battle of Algiers? Because I was thinking your film has a documentary style about it, but it's also at its heart talking about something very important that we need to address, but it's also very cinematic. And I'm wondering, as a filmmaker growing up, was neorealism, which is about, what it's about, but it's also about cinema as well. Was that an influence for you as a filmmaker?
100%, 100%. And it's, I love cinema a lot, and I watch a lot of movies. And, before I went to film school, my film school was watching movies. And, I started watching films, a lot of Italian neorealism films, but also just a lot of Russian cinema and Mexican cinema. And that helped a lot, because by the time I came to the US, then I started studying American cinema. So it definitely has an impact in everything I do, especially, you say you were going to go see the film later, right?
Yeah. No, I've already seen the film.
You saw it.
But
the first trailer on the film, that's my new movie that is coming out. I don't know if you saw it. It's a period film called Cabrini. Yeah. So that also, that's it's an Italian story.
Wow.
And that film, it also explores another complete different cinematic language. Very, very challenging. I shot it in a way that I've never shot a movie like that before, which means no coverage. It's all choreographed. It's all very choreographed shots.
Will you do that again? Would you do that again? That sounds so hard. Sounds like you have a great lead actress too as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So I would definitely. I don't think I could shoot a movie normally anymore. Like I loved the idea of kind of like what you call a film that is edited in camera. Like you're before, the masters used to shoot in a way that the film could only be edited one way, because for many years directors were not allowed to edit. So they had to break their brains and to figure out how to shoot so they respect their storytelling, So they would be only shoot, like if they wanted a shot on a wide shot, they would only do one take from many take of only one angle. So the editor would be forced to use on that particular line a wide angle, because they would not do a close-up for that line, So I did that, but I took it a little farther. I was like, well, what happens if I do exactly that, but now choreographing the camera with the actors? And one of my biggest influences is a Russian director. His name is Andrei Tarkovsky, and he does all of that. And it's very operatic, because the actors and everything is a dance between the camera and the characters. So it's very challenging, but the adrenaline rush it's great.
Alejandro, why do you do that? Because you could actually not be so ambitious. I'm trying to say, because it's very, with this film and Cabrini, these are very big things. You're trying to climb the mountain, whereas you can actually succeed if you just go a little bit. Is that not even in your the way of thinking, as far as
I wish it was. It'll make things much easier, but I always tend to listen to the project, and in Cabrini, the project was asking me to do that. It wanted that, and Sound of Freedom was asking the way I shot it. So it's every project I listen, and it just depends. Sometimes the project speaks. Even though it sounds a little bit of a cliche, the projects do speak to you. You just have to listen, and they will tell you what direction to go.
Alejandro, just final two questions, and I apologize that you have to be a pitchman for this, but a lot of people now want to just watch something on their iPad or their big TV at home. I feel like this is a movie that you should go out in the theaters and see on a cinematic level. What will people get with their ticket going in, even though the movie posters are not there, but when they go in the darkened room, what are they going to find with your movie?
They're going to go on an emotional and cinematic journey into the heart of darkness. So they're going to go in there, but it's when you go in the darkness that you experience the light. So it's going to be a roller coaster, but it will leave. It is a movie that begins when the movie ends. So it's definitely a roller coaster emotionally, but with a very enlightening ending. They're gonna leave touched and moved, and I just feel like, there is a little bit of everything, but if you eat too much dessert and not enough of other things, it's just eventually, that's why I feel is happening. It's too much of the same thing in cinema today.
Yeah.
This is a complete different experience that, I think it's just as a variety, just change for a change, but in this time it's two changes. Just by watching the movie, you're becoming part of a change, just creating awareness. That's people, when they finish the films, and what can I do? Say, well, next party, talk about this. And the more we create awareness, the more we can start change and protecting our children a priority.
And final question is, just after watching Sound of Freedom, there are going to be people listening to this interview, and they're going to hear the name Tarkovsky. And if they have not seen a Tarkovsky film, what's the one movie that you would recommend for them to see first, and why?
Well, they have to love it. They're a little complex, but Stalker is a great one. Stalker.
Wow.
It's an exploration. It's one of my favorite films. And Ivan's childhood. It's another good one. All of his work is amazing, but it's definitely, you have to, there's a different pace. It's a different year. It's a complete slower way of telling stories and very philosophical. But it's a great, for those that love cinema, it's an incredible, his work. You can get inspired and really it inspires you to kind of look at stories in a different way. Also, the way, I believe by watching a lot of his films, I came to the conclusion that when we go to the movie, we listen with our eyes, It's like sometimes, I go to a movie and it's so bad. But if the movie is good, you made it. But there's other movies that if the sound is not good, the movie is not good because it's relying on this big sound design. So I do believe, it's we listen with our eyes and we got to experience the film, and that's one of the main motors of the way I approached movies and stories.
Lastly, before you go, did you ever think this day would come? I mean, I know you're probably, I don't know if you're looking at Rotten Tomatoes and all the ratings, great reviews from the critics, and the people who've seen it have given it so many great reviews. Is it a surreal experience? Because,
it is definitely a surreal experience. I am a victim of label, like through my career, people have labeled me, and label my work. I don't mind people label me. So I do care when they label my work. It's like if you make, tequila and somebody comes and it says it's vodka just because they're both clear. And it's like, well, it's a complete different product. But it's very dangerous when we live in a society that all we do is label each other. But they want to know to label you before they get to know you. It's like, well, let's get to know each other. And we will find out that we have way more things in common that we disagree. And right now, it seems like we're being programmed to only focus on what we disagree. And there's nothing wrong with disagreeing. But now it's like, well, not just disagreeing, but now we can even drink wine together because we don't see eye to eye, and that's wrong. We should be able to agree to disagree. We should be able to come together, and especially with themes like this, with themes that cannot afford a divided society. We have to come together and put aside anything that divides us. And that's the movies I like to make. I like to make movies that propose a theme. I never want to give an answer because I'm also searching for the answer. So I just like to propose themes. I like to never impose a theme, to propose a story, and I'm just fighting always these labels, and I'm just grateful that this film has been able to survive and continue to go on, and at the end I respect the audience the most, and the audience is really, I think they gave us 100% in Rotten Tomatoes. That's amazing, and we just need to keep going.
Alejandro, I know, very busy day. Thank you for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it, and I love the film.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the support.
And I'll see you for Cabrini, right?
Yes, for sure.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank
Peace.
you.